Welcome everybody to Glow Up Your Makerspace using Canva for laser cutting projects. I have recently become obsessed with laser cutting and I just want to let the whole library world know about it. I'm going to show you how to laser cut, what it involves, and how we can use the amazing Canva to create these wonderful designs so that we can laser cut them for our students. My name is Alexandra Cornejo and allow myself to tell you more about me. So my name is Alexandra and people call me Allie for short. You can find me on Allie the Librarian on all the socials. I do work in Harlingen, Texas for Harlingen CISD, and I do work at a specialty high school that is geared for students who would like to pursue a career in the medical professions. I was a 2024 mover and shaker for Library Journal, and I am a Canvassador. I'm so proud to be a Canvassador because I love the Canva product. And I think a lot of my fellow librarian colleagues love Canva too. Why? Because it's so user friendly, it's so accessible. And now all of the features that they've added and how we can just share our templates with our students and they can turn them in so seamlessly. I don't understand why anybody wouldn't use Canva because it is just such a versatile tool to have in the library space, especially for creativity. I do have a podcast, Allie the Librarian Book Talks, and I am an Apple Learning Coach. My email is alliethelibrarian@gmail.com. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'd be happy to help you out and hear from you. So, what is a laser cutter? This is a question that I do get often because I do like to post a lot of videos having to do with the laser cutter. And what it is, it's a machine that uses a focused laser beam, and you can actually see the laser as it's cutting. It cuts, it engraves, and it etches into materials. And what kind of materials? You can use wood, you can use acrylic, you can use metal, even cardboard. It even cuts things as fine as paper. Now, with a laser cutter, it is burning with the laser, so it does have to have a filter. But it is such a great tool to create prototypes, 3D prototypes of your students' imagination, of their thinking, of their ideas. Really, the world is their oyster when it comes to creativity and bringing those ideas to life. So, this is a picture of my laser cutter that I have. And the laser cutter has a lid that you kind of open up and you place your material in there. Now, this particular laser cutter has to have a flat material. So I'm usually working off of 12 by 12 inch planks of plyboard, or sometimes it's a 12 by 17 size. And I purchase a lot of my materials off of Amazon.com. They're very inexpensive there, but there are a lot of online shops that cater to the Glowforge. But believe it or not, there are some great wooden materials that you can find at Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree is really killing it with all the crafting supplies. You just never know what you're going to find within the aisles. So I just make it a point to visit my Dollar Tree regularly because I find such gems in there that I could use with the Glowforge, and I can service more students. If I'm just paying $1.25 for materials. So what you see there is not only the Glowforge, but you also see to the right an air filter. Now you do have to buy an air filter along with the Glowforge or any other laser cutter because it's going to burn and it's going to have fumes and sometimes smoke, and that smoke's got to go somewhere, and you don't want that to set off the fire alarm. So I do have a tube that kind of looks like those tubes behind the dryer and the washing machine, and it's connected into that air filter. An alternative would be to put that tube out of a window, but I don't have any windows in my library that open, so I had to purchase the air filter. Um, Now, the laser cutter is very precise. It does cut to the hair, to the width of a hair, a strand of hair. And so when you see that it etches like cursive handwriting or cursive fonts that are very fine, you'll be so impressed because it makes things look so elegant if you need it to. Now, when it comes to education, we have tons of benefits that go along with working with a laser cutter because it's going to grow creativity by allowing students to design and create unique projects. And I'm going to talk about some of the projects that I've done with my students. It encourages critical thinking because this is a great opportunity for you to give problem solving projects. So if you have a PBL to pass along to your students and you really want them to collaborate with each other to try to solve some sort of problem, this is a great opportunity to do so. And designing step-by-step processes, students got to think about how to get from point A to point B without just skipping over to point B. Sometimes they need to think about step one, what would that be, and write it down. Step two, step three, step four. That's really, really important. Our students are super impatient these days, and this allows them to kind of slow down and think about processes in a very stringent way. And what I love mostly is that this falls in line perfectly with the ISTE standards. So, if you are an ISTE follower and you use the ISTE guidelines, innovative designer is where this would fit in because students are able to use a variety of technologies within the design process to identify and solve problems by creating new and useful and imaginative solutions. The laser cutter does all of that. It is a technology that you combine with a device for designing, and it just does everything that that particular standard in the ISTE standards asks you to do as an innovative designer. And then, not only that, but if you are also a future ready librarian, it also empowers students as creators. It follows that future ready framework where the empowers students as creators, encourages and facilitates students to become increasingly self-directed as they create digital products of their learning that engage them in critical thinking, collaboration, and authentic real-world problem solving. Another win for the laser cutter because it does fit within the Future Ready framework and the ISTE standards. So, designing, and I think this is what we're here for. How can we use Canva for laser cutting? And I know this seems to be like a really niche area of librarianship, but I was able to apply for a local grant to purchase this laser cutter, and there are more inexpensive laser cutters out there. My grant just happened to be able to purchase the Glowforge Plus and the air filter, but there are other options out there. Now, Glowforge has other options that are a lot smaller. They don't fit as much material, but they're still going to bring the magic of laser cutting inside of the library if that's what you'd like. So, with Canva, what you do is you have to create your canvas. So, what you're seeing on the screen right now is a bookmark that one of my students created. And so, I just set up the canvas on Canva, and I saved it as a template and I sent it to my students, and they were able to pick and choose from elements to bring in their designs. So this particular student decided on a silhouette that she found in Elements, and she added flowers and she added hearts. And this particular student loves cats. So she added that really cute little cat and she added her name at the bottom. And so once she finished designing that, she did turn that into me as a PNG. And a PNG, a JPEG is so easy to just put into the Glowforge software, and the Glowforge will cut it out, or not cut it out, but it'll engrave it. On the right-hand side, I did include a picture of this. This was not designed in Canva, but I'm sure you totally could. Actually, what I did design in Canva is this is a plywood box that I laser cut in the Glowforge to store my Uno cards, because those Uno cardboard boxes, they fall apart so easily because the students are trying to stuff that double deck into that cardboard box. And so I was able to create that plywood box in the Glowforge, and the cover of it had playing cards etched into it. And so I brought it into Canva and I actually changed that. And I put Uno, and I also put property of my library. So there's a lot of things you can even modify into Canva. So these are tweets, I guess, or I don't know, X posts of things that I did print in the Glowforge. And like I was talking about that Uno box, I'm going to go ahead and play this. Ooh, I don't know if it's not going to let me. Let's see. Oh, it's not going to let me. That's okay. We'll go ahead and move on. I'm going to show you some of the project ideas that I do on Canva. So personalized bookmarks are probably the most popular thing. They love to design their own bookmarks. They can design and cut the bookmarks, just like I said, using all the elements. You can look for silhouettes on Canva elements. You can look for shapes. You can look for designs, brush strokes. I mean, just try typing in the search field whatever you're looking for. And even if Canva doesn't have the exact design element that you're looking for, it's going to give you a huge variety to choose from. So maybe things that you haven't even thought of that you would like in your design, you'll have it there. If you look at that picture at the bottom right, those are name tags that I created on Canva for my library ambassadors, my library helpers in the library. And so I asked them to give me an icon of what they feel represents them. And so if you look at these name tags, you see that some of them have golf clubs, a chess piece, a guitar. One of them has a pen because she loved to write poetry. And so I did make these, and they absolutely love them. So whenever they came in to help in the library, they would go to the basket that I had these in, they would clip them on, and then when they left, they would put them back. But when the year was over, they were able to leave with those lovely name tags. And there at the top, I have some bookmarks that I made for our administrative staff at the front, and it has an acrostic poem of their name, which I used AI to assist in creating that acrostic poem, but they absolutely loved it. And that was for Administrative Assistance Day. And they still have those bookmarks hanging in their office. They love them. And I was so happy to give those to them. And so this is one of my favorite projects that I did with ELA. So I partnered with my ELA teacher because she was doing a novel study on The Great Gatsby. And she does The Great Gatsby every year. And I've always tried to figure out how can I collaborate with this particular teacher and try to pry some time away from her, because she really values the time that she spends with the students discussing The Great Gatsby. She really gets into all of it. She talks about the symbolism and the colors, and every background of every character. And I just love to hear her talk about The Great Gatsby because she lights up about it. However, I finally convinced her. I told her, look, bring your class in and I will do a lesson on the style of Art Deco, which was hugely popular in the 1920s. And I'll talk about the 1920s and how it was such a revolutionary time from the recent Victorian era. Suddenly, dresses were shorter. They weren't at ankle length, they were now at knee length. Hair wasn't long anymore. It was a bob right at the chin. We talked about how the very intricate designs of the Victorian era suddenly turned into straight geometric lines of Art Deco. And I also showed them architecture that you could find in New York City and Chicago, showing that a lot of these buildings are built in the Art Deco style, and which was very prominent in the novel of The Great Gatsby. So once you teach this background of Art Deco in the Roaring '20s to the students, it sort of brings the story. They can imagine, they can visualize. It gives them a visual to what this time was like. And so, to further that lesson in Art Deco and Roaring '20s, I told them that they had to design a bookmark in the Art Deco style, meaning that I wanted to see the Art Deco straight lines, the geometric designs. I wanted a silhouette in that depicted the Roaring '20s. I wanted a quote from The Great Gatsby that really spoke to them, and they loved this project. They thought it was just so different from anything they had ever done, and they used Canva to design it. All of these designs were done in Canva, and not to mention my presentation on Art Deco and the Roaring '20s. And it really just brought this novel study to another level for these students, and uh, they loved receiving their bookmarks. And so here on this particular slide, I did have a little video, but it's not going to play for some reason, which is so frustrating. But you can see these bookmarks on the left-hand side. They're in the Glowforge and they're being laser cut. And you can see that every bookmark is different. Every bookmark has a different quote. Every bookmark has a different silhouette, a different design in Art Deco. So you can see the individuality of every student as they design, whether it be a bookmark or a coaster or a little square piece of plywood. Every student is going to leave their own type of flavor, their own type of style, their own type of personality on the canvas. And when you have a laser cutter, you create that little memento that they're going to keep forever. That's a trinket that they will always keep, and they're never going to want to throw away. And so on the right-hand side, another one of my favorite projects with the laser cutter and Canva. And we used Canva in a very unique way. This was a partnership with our Transition Academy, which is an academy that caters to our life skills students who are now graduated from high school, and they're learning life skills to be able to be more independent. And so they decided to visit my high school, and I had them create a bookmark on Canva, but drawing with their fingers on the iPad. And that was such a fun activity. And I wish I could expand this tweet so I can show you these pictures. However, you can see a couple of my students right there next to the Glowforge. Some of them are working on the iPad right there when I'm working on them. And look at how they're using their finger to create these drawings manually on Canva. So if you go on Canva and open up your canvas, on the left-hand side, you're going to see the draw option. And when you open that draw option, and if you're working on a tablet or an iPad, this is a fantastic way for students to not use the already manufactured elements that you can find in Elements, as amazing as those are. But if you want to take individuality to another level, this draw option is going to allow the students to take creativity platinum. It's going to be a great option for them. And so our Transition Academy students really enjoyed drawing. And if I wish these videos would show you, but these the video in this particular tweet, and if you look on my Twitter account under Ali the Librarian, you can see that every bookmark is also different from our students from the Transition Academy. Some of them say "Go Cowboys" because we're huge Cowboys fans in Texas, and some of them have pictures of their family. Some of them have their name on there, and they draw hearts and they draw stars, and just the authenticity of these bookmarks and how special they were to these students was such a wonderful, wonderful experience for all of us. I did have my library ambassadors help me with particular day. They were so great with the Transition Academy students, and they were introduced to new technology, and that's what it's all about. Here, these are Canva designs that, like I told you before, I am the librarian at a specialty high school that caters to students who would like to pursue a career in the medical professions. And so these bookmarks were designed by my library ambassador students as sort of like cheat sheets for our different pathways that we have at our school. So we have a dental pathway, a pharmacy pathway, and a CMA pathway. And so if you look at the pharmacy bookmark there, you can see that there are certain stats and amounts and different categories for the types of medications that the pharmacy gives out. So you have the anticoagulants, you have the ACE inhibitors, the beta blockers, the lipid regulators, the proton pump inhibitors, and you have little icons that represent each category of medicine and other important information. And so my library ambassadors were able to put this together for our pharmacy students, and they were so excited to receive them. And if you look at the dental, the dental had two sides to the bookmark. The front were all the teeth on the bottom and the top, and then they have a number assigned to them. So in the back of the bookmark, depending on what that number is, you have the legend of those teeth in the back of the bookmark. And you can also see on that third bookmark on the right-hand side, you can see which of those proper names for teeth, where they're located in the mouth. So you have the top right, the top left, the bottom right, bottom left. And so another great project for my library ambassadors. And then on the far right, you have a bookmark that says vital signs. And so you have all of important terms as far as blood pressure there at the top and the numbers that are associated to a healthy blood pressure. You have heart rate up next, and what's a healthy BPM. You have respiratory rates, you have temperature, you have O2 levels, and all of that fits on a bookmark. And you're probably thinking, why do you focus on bookmarks so much? Because it's the perfect canvas for a lot of information, and a bookmark is so representative of the library, but just by what's on the bookmark, it's not always going to be some inspirational quote to help you read more. Of course, I have those as well. But look at how versatile a bookmark, plank, wood, space can be. I've been able to make these individual drawings with our Transition Academy, Great Gatsby bookmarks with the design of Art Deco and the Roaring 20s. We have these medical-based bookmarks that are based in pharmacy, dental, and vital signs for CMA. So all of these are incredibly important and designed by students and they're brought to life on the laser cutter, and they're being given out. And these are keepsakes for our students to keep forever. And if anything, these will be a wonderful reminder of their time with us at our high school. So here on the next slide, I do have a teacher who is holding a plank of wood, and it has a skeleton on it. And if you look really closely, there's lines that are leading to parts of the skeleton. And those empty spaces are where the little blocks or names of those parts of the skeleton fit into. And so that's in the plastic Ziploc bag that she's holding. Those are all of the little blocks that go into those spaces that the students have to figure out which of them apply to which parts of the skeleton. So it's a parts of the skeleton puzzle, basically. And that was made on Canva and laser cut in the Glowforge. And then on the right-hand side, same old story. I can't play this video. However, it is a video of one of our library ambassadors laser cutting some ornaments for Christmas. And that's another thing that we did design in Canva. So when you are managing a complex makerspace such as the 3D printer or the Glowforge laser cutter, it's really important to have guidelines. And I do have guidelines here when it comes to the laser cutter. So you got to talk about, sometimes they ask you to design something for them. And I'm talking about the students, but you need to teach the students how to create things themselves. So again, you don't tell them, well, you're going to design it in Canva and tell me when you're ready. You have to really guide them into, have some templates ready in Canva and be ready to share them with your students, and then guide them through the design process. And all you have to do is just show them a little bit and they will take off with it. They are so creative. They just need a little nudge. But you also need rules, and that's what these guidelines are for. And if you want a copy of these guidelines, I'd be more than happy to share them with you. Now, when I got this Glowforge, I did not know how to use it. And let me give you a little history about why I wanted a laser cutter. I attended TCEA one year for 3D printing. I love to 3D print, and my students love 3D printing. And as the presenter was talking about his wonderful 3D printing program in his Makerspace class, he was the Makerspace teacher. He talked about and he had examples of laser cut projects that he was also doing. And he had some acrylic squares that were in a light up, like a glow light stand, and they look really nice. And I've made plenty of those too on our Glowforge. And he had them all on display, and people were very into his 3D printing presentation. However, they said, "What's that? Can you tell us more about that?" And he talked about his laser cutting program, and we were just all taken aback, in awe, didn't know this even existed, was even possible. And then he gave us the price tag, and we were like, well, that was a nice dream to have for a couple of minutes. And I really never thought that I could bring it to my library. However, the opportunity of the grant came along, and I worked really hard on writing the grant and working with our grant specialist to give me tips and tricks on how to write the grant properly. If you have a grant specialist at your school district, use them. Please reach out to them, because sometimes nobody reaches out to them and they are just looking for opportunities to get money for the district. And that was the case for our grant specialist. She was so happy to help me, and she gave me wonderful tips and tricks. This is her specialty. And you know what? We got it. And I was able to purchase the Glowforge, and it totally revolutionized my space. So, but I didn't know how to use it. There was nobody to teach me. So I kind of had to plug it in. My technician helped me put it together, lift the heavy parts, but I'm the one who read the user manual and got started. And I did okay. I did well. I was able to self-teach, and I think that's just an inherent trait that all librarians have. We self-teach. That's what we do, and we're so good at it. I know that all of my librarian colleagues, we hate to feel defeated, and we hate that feeling of not knowing how to do something. So we go out and learn it. And that's exactly what I did. And now we have the assistance of AI. This was a bit before AI, so I kind of really had to learn it on my own. But now I ask ChatGPT for certain settings on certain acrylics now, and it gives me great answers. So now there's even more resources out there to help us. But at the time, a lot of the very helpful resources that I had were Facebook groups. And those are the Facebook groups that I really reached out to for assistance. Friendliest Glowforge group on Facebook, Glowforge Beginners group, Glowforge Trendy Designs, Glowforge for Crafters. On YouTube, there's lots of great crafty people. On Instagram, there's lots of people who are using the Glowforge. So there are tons of people out there. And as far as I've been in the laser cutting game, they've all been extremely friendly. So I highly recommend that. Okay. So I believe we are at the end of my time, and that's exactly where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to actually go a little more back to designing right here. Something that I didn't mention is I mentioned that you download your design in a PNG format, which is a simple picture. But if you want the Glowforge to cut through the wood, like if you want to cut it in a letter, a big bold letter, like if you wanted a big letter A to post on your wall or something to that effect, you would have to download it as an SVG, an SVG. And Canva has that option. On the educator account that I have, the SVG is a premium feature, but as an educator, we get it for free. And that is, you need to have the SVG in order for the Glowforge or any laser cutter to cut through a material and shape it. If you just wanted to engrave, a PNG is just fine, but SVGs are necessary for the cutting. Okay. At this point, I would take questions from the audience, but I don't have an audience at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll just close out by saying thank you so much for spending time with this professional development, continuing your education when it comes to Canva. And if you thought Canva couldn't do, that everything that Canva can do, look at this one more thing that Canva can do. It designs for laser cutters. And I just think that is an amazing, wonderful thing because Canva is so accessible to everyone. It's accessible to us as educators. It's accessible to our students. It's so user-friendly, and it lends itself to so many other partnering technologies, such as laser cutting. So if you have any questions about entering this realm, it might seem intimidating, but it's something I strongly believe everyone can do. And so please don't hesitate to reach out. My socials are Ali the Librarian on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also email me at allythelibrarian@gmail.com. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the year. And thank you so much for watching.